This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes, for your half-assed entertainment news with no bullshit, with our hosts, the Baroness and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Me.
Good day, everyone. It's your buddy Bear here with the person who makes the truth uncomfortable in Hollywood fear and tremble, the Baroness.
I do not. I make Hollywood money. You need to. So you are sitting here in a Dior shirt, but you didn't iron it.
You're right. I didn't iron it. I steamed it, and it's not a good steaming shirt, by the way. Dior,
it needs to be ironed because they use really good materials. You know what I find?
I get most of my clothing from
sit up straight. For the love of God, it drives me crazy.
We're starting the show like this.
I understand. Okay, so I'm going to ask you all out there. I get it for fighting has to round his shoulders, but you're walking in Fashion Week this week. For God's sake, sit up straight, man. It drives me.
I'll square them and roll them back for that. For those 30 seconds.
And put your head up.
Okay.
Because essentially what ends up happening is you spend the entire show looking like you're slouching. And I find it deeply, deeply uncomfortable. And we've gotten comments on it.
You find it uncomfortable. I find it very comfortable.
I don't care.
Okay, well, I will roll my shoulders
My job
back.
is not to make you comfortable. My job is to make you successful.
I've got my head up. I'm ready.
Let me give you all a tip for life. Sit up straight, keep your shoulders back, keep your head up, and people will listen to you.
That's true. Confidence matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it exudes confidence when you have good posture.
Just sit up straight.
Remind me again if I fail.
I'm going to tell you guys, just from a woman's perspective, it's gross. It's really gross when guys have bad posture. We're actually doing an entire television show on that coming up.
Doing an entire television show on posture?
I'm bringing real princes in to fix people's husbands. So I'm bringing princes in to fix relationships and husbands because these husbands do not know how to properly court their wives and to fix incels. I legit called some princes I know and was like, and said, hey, would you guys be willing to come in? And so now we're doing a TV show, and basically it's overhaul your man.
So if you have a older child that's of the age of 18 or greater, and they're an incel living in your basement, you know who to call.
Oh no, don't call me.
Well, okay, whoever the showrunner is.
Because I'll yell at the parent.
It's probably not a terrible idea either, to be honest with you.
Because there's a point where we also have a parenting expert coming in that's going to come in and fix, talk about the upcoming children. We've got the princes to come in and fix the husband. We've got people coming in to fix the house. It's basically overhaul your life. Go from rough to royalty.
Rough to royalty is great. It's like a pimp my ride, except it's probably usable after the show's over.
Oh, yeah. I feel bad for Exhibit. He got slapped on that. And then years later, he found out they really screwed everyone. Would you see what that comment is?
I'm checking.
By the way,
right now.
so I always do my what's going on in Hollywood. Box office flops again. No shock. That's because the internet exists. No offense to Hollywood. Get it together.
Yeah. There's no more need for big premieres in the theater.
No, there are. It's just being done wrong. Zoe Kravitz. Okay, so I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, tell me what's funny, what's scandalous. This is what it gave me for funny.
Yeah.
I would sue. Zoe Kravitz dosed friends with magic mushrooms.
Was it?
So she drugged
the ending
people.
Of that headline is oops. Was it an accident? Did she give him to it by mistake?
She said it was a mistake. Now, this is the same girl that, inappropriately talked about Jaden Smith when he was underage. She's been so problematic across the board. My boobs look really big in this shot, and they're not.
Don't let Zoe Kravitz see. She'll dose you with mushrooms.
No, she won't. She goes after children, apparently.
Oh, yeah. There's that.
I'm supposed to say allegedly, but if she wants to sue me, she can.
Apparently and allegedly are so
You say
close.
Allegedly. I don't mind being sued.
All right, allegedly.
I can afford to be sued.
Okay. Was that a dig at me?
No, you can afford to be sued too, but you keep giving all of your money to children.
That's reasonable. Don't take away from the nonprofit. I understand.
You give all of your money to, underprivileged children because you're a decent person. I keep mine and buy shiny things.
I appreciate the compliment.
Giorgio Armani died, and that really makes me sad.
Giorgio Armani, okay.
But Armani pieces are now, of course, through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
which is funny. We were the other day looking at Armani pieces, and you really like the cut of some of them.
Well,
You like the way they were done. Now, I will say, with Armani, I always found him very, very interesting. My style, clearly. I have a vagina, but
it's not. There is not exactly a women's.
No,
brand.
he does. He does. He
I
has
know
some
there are some
women's,
women
but
lines
I just don't particularly like it.
Well, in case
I
you
like
enjoy
Dior more.
scalping, Giorgio Armani clothing.
Why are you short? We're back to slouching.
Oh no, I just sat different. My shoulders are back,
and your head's not. You can actually look at the camera. So if you sit up straight, amazingly, you do better on camera.
And I look taller. I'll give you that.
It's not look taller. You're 6'1". There is no reason you should be.
Your face. What else we got in the latest Hollywood news here? And while we're waiting on that, our sound engineer has said, when you slouch, you don't exude confidence. You just exude from your armpits.
I like
underarms.
that. I like that. I'm taking.
You just exude.
He's He's always the funniest guy in the show. He's
he's got great comments.
So Giorgio Armani passed. Kim Kardashian was caught Googling herself at Fashion Week.
Yeah, but does that really matter? Listen, at that level, there's probably a genuinely good reason for why you would want to Google yourself. Like maybe you need to know what the latest topics and trends are about you. What are the people saying? What are the outlets saying?
For the rest of the show. Go now. Someone's there. So essentially, so you guys know, we have right now a fundraiser for the nonprofit going, and we've come in to do the show. We're hiding in our house right now, and apparently there's no.
We didn't put up a sign to say we're not out there.
We are live.
And someone didn't stay out there, but that's okay. We're
so
back.
That's why I'm yelling in the background. I sound like a banshee. In MMA news, Dylan Dennis won in 15 seconds.
Yes, he was. Unfortunately, due to his recent behavior, he will probably always be remembered as the guy who got drop kicked by Khabib after he jumped off the cage. But he did win in 15 seconds in the Misfits boxing, which is a KSI's boxing kind of thing, but it was an MMA match.
Alex Pereira fakes a hack over retirement rant.
I don't know anything about that. I couldn't even explain that.
So apparently there was a whole thing that went out saying he was getting retired. Oh, that's my little.
So he was saying his page was saying retirement.
Yeah,
he
was saying he was getting retired. Now he's like, no, it was a hack.
Okay.
I guess he changed his mind. Look, guys, that whole thing where you pretend you've been hacked, stop doing it. It's dumb.
Wait, what if it was real though?
It wasn't.
Did he say was it written in English? That matters.
They already knew it was a hack. It's been announced it was a hack.
Okay.
I know you like him, but this is not, that does not change it from being a hack.
No, if they know it was a hack, that's fine. That's all I'm concerned with. Versus them saying like, oh, they did it for publicity and then it was faked and yada yada yada.
Oh, and then the owner of the restaurant from the woman we had on last week and the gentleman we're going to be speaking to this week reached out and complained that we didn't reach out to them.
Yes, it's funny. So we've been having.
We did actually send them proof that we'd reached out to the owners repeatedly, and now they're apparently not responding to us.
No, 100%. And they're just upset because they either chose not to answer at the time or they don't like what our response has been without their input, which by the way,
we asked for a statement.
Yeah, I mean, that's the end of it. If you are given an opportunity to speak in your defense of a situation you were involved in as a brand, it's usually good to do that. Get your voice heard. Don't let someone else control the narrative. But now, I will say that in regard to this,
a Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, where they ask like 5 minutes before the story comes out, because that will always get you busted. But that's bull.
But what I was going to say is, in this case in particularly, it wouldn't have mattered because there's so much information out there, and we know that the owners themselves, especially the way they reacted to us, are not in the right. So I guess hopefully that does come out more publicly.
It's one of those things. I don't care if you disagree. You don't have to be awful.
No. And they were very rude to us, clearly rude to their guests
who we
have on the show
Alexis.
today.
That's never a good way to go.
Yeah, it was not very.
She's terrifying.
It was not good.
So do you want to tell everyone who we are having on the show today?
Yes. So this week we have on Jim Fraiser, accomplished author and freelance journalist. Sir, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This is what happens when you have 2 hours sleep.
Certainly. Well, you look lovely and he looks tall.
Thank you. He saw me picking on you for hunching.
Thank you. I'm sure a lot of people
are supposed to be at fashion. I know, millions, but you're supposed to be at Fashion Week. So sit up straight.
Well, I look good, apparently.
You're about to look single if you don't sit up straight.
That's all right.
I'm kidding. I love you.
Oh, man. Okay, well, I guess I kind of want to get down into the nitty gritty of the situation.
Well,
So
first, let's start with, can
okay.
you tell us a little bit about yourself for the audience that doesn't know you?
Certainly, glad to. I was a lawyer, active trial lawyer for 30 years. I'm also a freelance journalist writing for a lot of newspapers and magazines in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. And I've written 19 books, and I think now 13 produced plays.
Oh
Oh,
So,
shit.
wow.
and I was a law
Sorry.
professor and a few other things. Professional actor. I've been in some movies, so I've had a pretty active, fun, creative life.
I'd like
Yeah,
to remind everyone,
absolutely.
every time he uses bad language, we give money to the Boys and Girls Club of America, the Humane Society of America, and Free MMA. It's called the Sean Patrick Flannery Rule, and apparently Bear needs to watch his mouth.
I was just so taken aback because
That
that's
is a heck of a career, sir.
yeah. I've
thank you.
bounced around so much.
That is really incredible.
At least
So-
it was good enough to get me on here with you two.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. That is absolutely incredible. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your most recent book?
Okay, I've had a couple of recent books. One was, believe it or not, a book about the blind golfer from New Orleans. It was a national championship, world championship blind golfer. And when I first heard about that, I thought when they were proposing it to me that they were talking about a fiction book, but it was actually real and involved Eli and Archie Manning and a lot of famous people in New Orleans. It was really a great experience to write this book about this wonderful man. I've written a satire recently about American life called American Comedy, based on Dante's Divine Comedy. But instead of being led through hell by Virgil, it was by Juvenal, the satirist.
Okay.
Oh,
got
I
it.
like that. I'm gonna have to have a look at that.
No, that's
I
good.
like that. That is,
You
it's funny. That's not a book that you think people would parody, but that makes sense when there's difficulty at any point or change at any time. That actually is, that's very clever. I like that.
I
like
was
that,
trying to
Frankie.
think of a way to get it done, and then I saw on PBS, I saw a book, or a show about Dante and Inferno, and I said, that might actually work, and it did. I tracked it pretty close.
It's very good. Now
And
I'm gonna have to see that.
Well, I think
like
it's
that.
the experience that you have there to know when to take that opportunity and to go upon the information you were given. I think that's awesome because I think people in the beginning of their careers starting out as an author would not have been able to piece that together, maybe even
Well, he's
ditch
not starting
the
out. He's got
project.
19 books.
That's what I'm saying. It's experience that speaks for that right there.
That's true.
I actually, before we jump into it, I have another question. What made you bounce around between so many different things? You could have finished any one of those one career paths you had and been quite successful, but you decided to go author, lawyer, actor. What drive you to do all those things?
Probably the fact that I'm ADHD. But
I feel ya.
I loved all those things. I wanted to do them. Somebody like a William Faulkner can do one thing and do it better than anyone else. My ability was to do a lot of things better than most. And so I enjoyed doing that.
I
That's
like
really cool.
that.
Okay.
I like that very much.
Absolutely. And then
Now,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead. It's fine.
I know we had pulled you into this because you ended up in a very controversial situation that went viral.
Indeed.
Can you tell us, from your perspective, a little bit of what happened there?
Certainly. Thank you for asking. I came to this restaurant, Pulcinella, in New Orleans, straight from the airport. We were late, and Diane Kronstad called and said, we're going to be a little bit late. So we get there, and she introduces herself to the management, I think, and to the hostess. I'm here to do the review. So we sat down and ordered various things from the menu, and she filmed each of the pieces, plates, and so forth, and did a story on each of them, a little bit about the history of the restaurant. And then after we did that, we did two more restaurants, Two Jags and a lovely Japanese restaurant. Had wonderful experience at both of those places.
So nobody yelled at you at those?
Oh, no, they were very welcoming.
Very good.
That was a great experience. And when the waitress came over and said they were going to comp our dessert, Diane immediately told him, well, actually, you're comping us the whole thing. If that's the problem, let me talk to your manager. And so the manager comes over, and he was, I'm trying to think of a polite way to put it.
Oh, you don't need to. If you impolite, money goes to charity. It's called the Sean Patrick Flannery Rule. It was in the Boondock Saints. We were live at Comic-Con, and he said the F word 72 times in 30 minutes in a gorgeous Irish accent. So we just ended up now giving money to charity. We have too many actors on that cannot control their tongue. So we just made the show 18 and over and went, forget it.
That's great. Well, so he came over, and as a lawyer, I've seen a lot of people who were either on something or off their meds. I didn't smell any alcohol in his breath, so it must have been the other. But he was very angry, very threatening, and leaned over. He knew Diane was the one in charge, so he focused on her and told her that it was, let me think the word he used. It was some bad word about how we insulted them by spending $300 worth. And of course, she was just stunned. I mean, this is what we do. They had asked her if they had to pay her to do it, and she said that they didn't. And of course, restaurants, as a general rule, understand when someone comes to review your restaurant, it's comped. And my understanding in the industry is if there's a limit, they tell you right off the bat, and that's the professional way to do it. They didn't do any of that. And then he threw us out of the restaurant. Then he followed us out of the restaurant. And then we walked to my car, which was a block and a half away, and he followed us all the way out there. He was kind of an odd looking fella. And so you kind of wonder with New Orleans and the crime it has, if we might not be in trouble. But it all worked out okay.
I wouldn't feel safe at all in that situation. I think what catches me on that is if he didn't understand or he misunderstood the deal his partner, because I understand it was his partner that had made this deal, had made, you discuss it or you apologize or you take it up with your partner. You certainly don't act like a lunatic towards your customers and in front of other customers.
Well, that's exactly what he did. But I was amazed at Diane. I mean, she was as cool as a cucumber, as we say down south. And she just listened to him, answered his questions, told him what the situation was, and didn't let it get to her at all because she knew she was in the right. And so I just went along with what she was doing. If she had become frightened, I would have stood up to him and told him to go away. But we didn't have to do that because she handled it very professionally.
That's good. I'm glad to hear moreover that you guys were safe and that it was handled that way. It only comes back to make you both look much better in the situation versus if everyone's screaming at each other. Prior to you guys coming to this restaurant, what was because I want to fill in some background here. Did you have any other experience at different restaurants with Miss Kronstad, or is it only this time and afterwards?
It was just this time, the three restaurants we did in New Orleans.
Okay. And so just on that, the other two went like very, very well. There's no one screaming, yelling. They're normal.
Well, they'd seem fantastic after that first one.
Yeah, they were wonderful compared to that. But no, they went out of their way to be nice to us. I knew the waiter at Two Jags, and he's one of the best waiters in New Orleans. And he entertained us all night, and they would make sure that we had the best wine and the best food, as many dishes as we wanted. And it was just a fun experience. In the Japanese restaurant, the gentleman who owned it cooked for us because they were closed. And he gave us a lot of history of seafood and how the Japanese do with their seafood. And those were great experiences. It's just this other one was obviously a nightmare.
I find it so strange. I could understand if he hadn't talked to his partner, because apparently it was this woman that had set up the deal. I'd understand if he hadn't talked to his partner. If there was some misunderstanding, you'd go speak to your partner. But to flip out at customers, flip out at your reviewers, especially, I'm not yelling at my reviewers, in front of other customers, it was just a very strange way to be. And I liked the way you put it. I've seen people on stuff and, I didn't smell alcohol on it. So it's very, very strange. But it also concerns you when someone has difficulty with even basic conflict resolution. Because
even worse than that was the way they got a bunch of people to attack her on her media. And that was really unprofessional. And I think I remember Diane's husband said right after this happened, he said he thought that what they were doing was trying to generate some business because they didn't seem to have a lot of business that night. And so they got all the community in arms in their support. And I think they used her that way. And then to put all those people on there, they were all opening themselves up to a terrible lawsuit. I don't know if they thought that through, but she decided it wasn't worth troubling to deal with them.
I wish she would sue, But I think what catches me in this situation is, and I think you hit the nail on the head, by the way, the outrage media and outrage content serves better than, a review. And what they did was got a heck of a lot more attention. But by putting their narrative out first, because you guys didn't come out and immediately say, hey, this was the experience, you really tried not to make a scandal out of it. They intentionally made a scandal. So I completely agree with you. I think it was outrage press, and that's what the push was for.
Right.
And that's really dangerous.
Yes, and that's what she was thinking, not make a big scandal out. Finally, I told her, now look, you need to get the narrative out there. You need to get your side of it out there. You need to do it now. And that's when she started doing it. And I think we got it turned around pretty well. No thanks in part to y'all. Y'all were a big help.
It's what was being done to you, I thought was appalling, because I cannot blame the public. They know, if you're not in media, you don't know how this works. So if somebody tells you, what's going on is abnormal, you're going to believe that if you don't have that experience. But what was done to you, the way you were treated in there, and then the subsequent press push was appalling. I mean, really appalling.
Yes,
truly. And I think we're seeing kind of an era of anti content creation, anti people of influence. And so these restaurants, there was another separate incident where someone very much like Miss Kronstad went in there to do a review of a restaurant, and they attacked her for not having enough of a following. They're very belligerent towards her.
They had invited her
on the restaurant instead. The backlash was towards them. And I believe that these restaurants or at least these certain individuals are taking advantage of the online community, being kind of tired of people of influence, to say, hey, this influencer came in and they took advantage of us, and now we want you guys to attack them.
I think it's, again, I think it's a lack of understanding, and it's who gets the narrative out first. It is outrage. It's outrage marketing. People, it's easier to make an influencer look like bad guys, the same as they do with actors, the same as they do with politicians, the same as they do with lawyers. It's very, very easy to push a very specific narrative about a person. But when you look at it, she's not an influencer. She runs a travel. She literally sends out these newsletters. She writes. She is a reviewer. It's very different. Yes, there is pushback against influencers, but she's not in that category.
No, and she clarifies that consistently too.
And I heard y'all say this about outrage marketing when she was on, and I didn't even know what that was and never heard of it before, because I'd reviewed probably 100 restaurants and never had anything like this happen. But I looked it up, and apparently that is kind of a big thing nowadays.
Yes, they doing it specifically with the Matt Rife Elf Cosmetics ad. They put him in. He's a man that had publicly joked about beating women. And so then they put him in a woman's makeup ad that usually is for, that puts money towards women that have been abused. So they did that. Everyone got outraged. It went viral. They pulled the ad. They did the same thing with the Sydney Sweeney ad, and then they shifted the ad. They put one that bothered everyone, so then they put out another ad, but everyone's talking about it. And that's the whole point. It's and the Sydney Sweeney ad was just a copy of the Brooke Shields ad from the 1980s, word for word copy of the Brooke Shields ad from the 80s, and it created outrage back then. So they just copy. It's really clever, but it's not right when it's done without the consent or involvement of the people involved. If Elf wants to do that, if American Eagle wants to do it, great, it worked. But to involve you guys without your consent is very different.
The smart way to do it would be to hire a couple of actors to come in and pose as a reviewer, and then start the outrage on that. Then they're not hurting anyone. Yep. And but the only thing that's going to stop that is if somebody sues somebody for doing that and gets $1 million judgment. That might put the quietus on some of that.
I hope someone does.
Yes.
I hope you guys do. After the experience you went through, I really would love to see you guys sue, because this isn't the one that happened in San Francisco, I believe, with the woman that had a smaller following, and the guy came out. The internet turned, but she was the first to speak. And the internet usually follows whoever is the first to speak. You were all put in a dangerous, genuinely dangerous situation.
Yes, but I was amazed at how cool and calm and collected she was in that. It's nothing for me to be that way. I've handled death penalty cases. I've been threatened by the Ku Klux Klan. I've been through a lot of life experiences where that was nothing for me compared to what I've been through. But to have of a man come over and try to intimidate her the way he did and have her just as cool as anyone I've ever seen was really impressive.
I like that. Now, you've said you've handled death penalty cases. You've dealt with the Ku Klux Klan. How did you get involved in doing that?
Well, I grew up in the Mississippi Delta, and that was in Greenwood, Mississippi, and that was kind of ground zero for the civil rights movement.
Yes.
And so sometimes I would write an article after that, and I'd get a call from the Klan. Sometimes they'd be nice, sometimes they were not. And I would just tell them, look, I'm going to do what I do, and you do what you do, and we'll see who wins out in the end. And of course, my father took me down to his office when I was in the 4th grade, and he got out of the car, and the lights didn't come on in the car, and he pulled out a rifle from the back seat. And he'd been a World War II veteran of 35 missions over Germany. And I said, Dad, is there something you need to tell me about? He said, son, I brought you down to the office today because you need to know what's going on in your world. And the Ku Klux Klan has threatened my life and your life and all of our lives. And he said, if they come for me, I'm going to take some of them with me. So that was an eye-opening experience for me.
Now,
I'd say so.
Certainly. And in the time period you're talking with the civil rights movement in Mississippi, you're talking about getting involved in one of the most dangerous eras in American history.
Yes.
Why take that risk when it's easier to sit back?
Well, the Delta, Mississippi, was a much more genteel part of the state. Like Philadelphia, Mississippi, where the 3 civil rights workers were murdered and buried, is a very different kind of part of the state. So we didn't have that very much as bad as I thought we did. In fact, I went to dinner one night with an African-American writer who was writing about the Civil Rights Trail. And I asked him, I said, why do you think that the Delta is safer than any other part to do that? And he said, because it's flat and you can see them coming.
It's a good humor in a very dark
that's
situation.
Actually,
yeah,
that's
Yes.
from a strategic standpoint, it's not wrong. If you're going to go to war, you want to see.
Yeah, you want to see them coming. Why not?
Absolutely. And that was the place where they pulled over the school bus when the people were trying to, and they asked, what have we done wrong? And he said, there's too much yellow on your bus.
Mm.
So sometimes it could be a little humorous, and not quite as deadly as it was, I think, in some other parts of the state.
Right. I guess it is fortunate that was the case. Now I'm thinking about it. Do you think that your father's explanation of that had a long-term impact on you? Because you eventually went on to, I believe, said participate in criminal law. You've probably had to face multiple occasions where people were trying to threaten your life. So did his words there kind of change you to where it's I'm going to stand up for what's right no matter what?
Yeah, both my father and my mother were very courageous, and they're seeing him do that night with the rifle in the car impressed upon me the need to show courage in the face of danger, and I've never backed down from anyone or anything since then, and I do credit that to him.
That is truly wonderful.
Have you written a book about your life story yet?
No, I guess I really haven't. I've been thinking about doing that, but I'm not a famous celebrity, so whether anybody would be interested or not, I don't know. But
when you do, I'd like to turn it into a show, because you're talking about being in one of the most violent and difficult states during the civil rights movement. You are talking about watching a great deal of change through that era. That is something that would interest people, because we're moving into a time where they're moving away from DEI. People are forgetting.
Yes.
What we went through as now, I'm not American, obviously, but I think people are forgetting where we were. You see it across Europe when they talk about World War II. People forget how far we've come, and we're sort of slipping back. I think the experiences of people that have lived through this, not just change, but traumatic change. I mean, this is very traumatic change,
right,
to a country.
Well, the best story I recall was with, do you know who Byron De La Beckwith was?
Mm-hmm.
He was the one who was convicted of assassinating Medgar Evers.
Yes.
And so we had pulled up in a church to pick up some other family members. And he was in the parking lot of the church walking around handing out papers, billboards, or whatever he was handing out, newspapers or a sheet of something. And he came over, and I didn't know who he was. I rolled down the window and took it. And I read it, and it said, let's kill all the blacks. He didn't use the word black, of course.
No.
Right.
Let's kill all the Catholics and kill all the Jews. And at that time, I was going to a public school, had black friends, had a Jewish neighbor down the street, was dating a Catholic girl, and I lost my temper and tried to get out of the car and get at him. But my father knew what I was going to do, so he hit the lock button on the car. I didn't know what a lock button was. And I'm trying to get out at Beckwith and cussing and saying, and then all of a sudden I stopped and I look up and see my mother, who's never heard me say a damn or a hell,
Oh, no.
white as a sheet. But I mean, that's the way it was.
But they raised you right to see things that way.
Absolutely.
Yes, it did.
And I do want to make this comment in case we transition to something else. I understand the perception of I'm not this big celebrity thing, who wants to hear my story, but there are countless stories of heroes and people who stood up for the right thing at the right time across our history, particularly since we mentioned it in World War II and the many different wars we've participated in.
Your father,
and the Civil Rights
Act. The Civil Rights Movement.
I want to tell you, especially in today's age, people are so interested and so longing to hear good news and positive impacts that we have had in our life and the change we've made for the future. And the only reason why we hear about these other people who are these A-list celebrities is because they have a good team of people who are pushing them.
Yeah.
That's it at the end of the day. And so all it will require is someone who's willing to promote your story, because that would make such a huge impact for many people.
Well, thank you. I'll consider that. I haven't been able to think of anything to write next. I've written several novels and architecture or history books, but that would be something new to write an autobiography. So I'll consider that. Thank you.
You should.
What book are you most proud of that you've written?
Two of them. My first novel, Shadow Seed, was nominated for Best Fiction of the Year by the Mississippi Institute of Arts and Letters. And then my book, The French Quarter of New Orleans, was my bestseller. It was beautiful color photography of all the historic structures in New Orleans and the history of the architecture there. And then one, I had predicted that Katrina was about to destroy the Mississippi coast, not Katrina, but a hurricane.
Right.
I predicted it would be summer of 2005. And so I was able to convince the publisher to let me preserve the coast for posterity before it got destroyed. And they finally listened to a writer, and we got it done. And so we were there when the storm hit, had to get out of town at the last minute, but we preserved the coast as it was then forever. And so far as I know, I don't think there's ever been a writer who preserved an area with photographs and text, predicted that it would be destroyed, and it was destroyed when they said it was, but they preserved it. I think that's a little bit unique.
That's why you need the autobiography. I'm just saying.
I do want to ask, what made you think that was going to happen?
I get asked that a lot because in the book, we changed it from Mississippi Gulf Coast to Vanished Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I explained all that. And what happened was I went back and researched the history of hurricanes in New Orleans and the coast. And I kind of got a feeling for how often they occurred. And then they had several big hurricanes in Florida the year before. And I just felt like the combination of knowing those things, that it was coming. I just had a strong feeling. But people don't believe that creative people can do these things, but they can. I just do it every now and then. The really creative ones like Leonardo and do it all the time.
Right.
But I was right. And I wrote several books, one to preserve New Orleans, one to preserve the coast, and a novel called Camille to warn the people to get off the coast, which of course they ignored. But I just really had a strong feeling, and it unfortunately came to pass.
Definitely, unfortunately, but I'm glad that you had it to begin with, to be able to go and preserve and make sure we can see it for future times.
It's funny in religious text, in Christianity, the idea of precognition is called the gift of prophecy. In science, they call it. They say essentially that you're putting together external facts to create this oncoming view. So even in science, they believe that people do have that ability. It's like a mathematical equation coming together in your head, taking in all these factors to create a perfect estimate of what will happen. So both science and religion come together at this one focal point. There are a few focal points they come in, and precognition happens to be that one point. and they believe that human beings can take existing information essentially and create a projection of what will happen down to the pin. And then in religion, they believe it's precognition. It's the gift of prophecy. So whichever direction you're coming at it from, it is something that people who are very aware of what's going on around them can do.
Well, you mentioned a good point. Do the work. If you do the work, if you do the research, your mind is collating your creative mind is collating all these things, and it spits it out to you. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's also empathy is a big part of that. Your mind is looking at the body language, the sound of the voice, and it puts together, and that allows us, I think, to have more empathy than we might otherwise have.
Yes. It's also the good reader of danger. It's the good reader of everything. If you can read other people, it's a gift I really wish I had. Really, the best negotiators are the people that can read other people. The best lawyers are the ones that can read the jury and the judge. The best, you in a fight, you read your opponent.
Let me just say this. I've seen you now a couple of times, and I think one of the last people on earth I would like to negotiate against would certainly be you.
Well, thank you.
You're a strong woman.
I appreciate that. But it really is a very strong skill, and it makes sense that you would go into law where you need to read people in situations, where you would go into writing where you need to collate the information. All of that I can see, and even acting taking that empathy and projecting it out. So I can see the correlation on those choices.
Yes, indeed. I used creativity in the law as much as I used it in anything.
Really?
Wrote law review articles that the Supreme Court adopted, and suddenly I was the leading author in the field. But you have to use what you have creatively in everything that you do. It takes you a while to believe that all that stuff really happens. But once you buy into it and believe it, it actually can work for you.
It's excellent. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about the transitions you made over your time and having ADD and pushing you into different careers. What sparked the interest in being in film?
Yes, that is interesting.
Well, I think when I went to Ole Miss, the artist in residence was James Best. He was, for those of you who don't know, he was Roscoe Coltrane on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Mm-hmm.
Was in a lot of movies as a badass, and westerns particularly. And he was one of my favorite actors. So I tried out for a play with him, and he cast me in the lead role. We got along great. Did a bunch of plays together, and so then he convinced us to try out for movies, and he taught me in a class called Acting for Screen, and I've taught that class since then. And he told me everything I needed to know to go to a movie audition and get the part. And that's what got me moving. That although I had written our senior play in Greenwood in high school, but he really got me started with it.
That's excellent. And did you have a film that you particularly was your favorite one to be a part of?
No doubt about it. It was My Dog Skip, which was a kind of this generation's version of Old Yeller.
Okay.
And so we got to work on that. And I was the veterinarian that saves the dog, and it was based on a Willie Morris novel, had great actors in it. And Frankie Muniz was really talented, and the dog was one of the best actors I've ever seen. The dog could take direction from the director and do it. So
really?
It was a great fun movie, yeah.
Oh, I like
a good
that.
movie. I like that dog had a great role there, could take direction so well.
Yes.
Now, you said you worked, I'm going to go into a much darker direction. You said you worked on death penalty cases.
Yes.
How do you end up doing that? Because that is something a lot of people shy away from.
It is indeed. Again, the not shying away from is kind of what I do. But I did it in court-appointed cases. They needed good lawyers who would be willing to do it. And so I did that. And then the federal judges hired me to do them in the federal cases. So, and that was a really complicated area of the law because there's so much that you have to look at in a death penalty case. And of course, I didn't want murderers to go free, but on the other hand, I didn't believe in the death penalty. So I enjoyed the work.
That was actually what I was going to ask, is what's your opinion on the death penalty? But we know
that it's I have to agree with him.
What now? Actually, maybe this is a better question for that as a
Something you
follow-up.
can't take back.
Why do you say no to death penalty? Because we can put whatever crime we want out there, and there's some that people would agree where that person should not be around anymore, and others say they should. But why do you say we need to take that off the board?
Well, the best argument for the death penalty is that someone that's a psychopath is going to kill again. He'll kill somebody in the jail. He'll kill a guard. He'll escape and kill other people. So that's a reasonable argument for the death penalty. But the fact is, they're in jail now. There's no need to go after them any further. And to do so is going to cost the government tons of money, endless, appeals. That just wastes money. Just give them life without parole. They're not going to hurt anybody else, hopefully. And you don't have to deal with the moral issue of killing them.
I think a lot of people like the idea of the death penalty because it's a righteous sense of justice. They feel it's an eye for an eye, but it's a crime. It's a response you cannot take back. We have no idea how many innocent people we've put to death.
Well, I understand that if someone had murdered someone I was close to, I'm sure I would feel that I wanted them to die for it. But I think I would hope my reason would overcome that and put them in jail for the rest of their life and be done with it.
I wish I could say reason overcomes it. My son was killed by a drunk driver.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Reason does not overcome it. I do not believe in the death penalty, but I could kill that man myself. It's not.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately we are, emotional creatures.
Yes, indeed. And well, if you kill them before they're in jail, then there's nothing immoral about that. It's when they're a prisoner and you kill them that the moral issue arises, I think.
Because you've taken the freedom they're entrapped, or why do you feel that?
Well, I agree with you. I'm human. You're human. It's a natural desire to want to do something to someone that's hurt someone you love very much, or has hurt you very much. But if you can catch them in the act, obviously, if the police shoot them when they're escaping from a murder scene, or to stop them from murdering someone, I think that's perfectly legal. It's legal in our laws. It's legal morally, I think. But when you have someone in jail, shackled, he's no threat to anyone, to take his life or her life seems to me to be just a question of wanting vengeance and letting that rule your mentality.
Oh, I would have said prior to hearing these statements that I'm for the death penalty. I would agree that there's cases that it needs to happen. But it's interesting hearing that take, because normally what I get in response is well, you don't know if they're innocent or not. No one deserves, an eye for an eye is not going to fix anything. It doesn't solve the problem. The person's still gone or the action still happened. But to hear it being related to more like a dark sense of need to control. Like I already have this guy, girl, whoever they're vulnerable, and now I get to exact my revenge on them. That retribution you mentioned earlier. And I don't quite like that, actually, the thought of it. So that's a very good point.
I've been arguing with him about this for 10 years. You just converted him in 10 seconds.
Well, I'm going to have to really rethink my morals, but it definitely is a solid argument for that part.
I like that. So I appreciate that. Now, for you, with being an attorney for so long, do you have a case that you are most proud of, or a case that you're still confused by? What sticks out to you most through your law career?
What sticks out with me was that no one particular case, although there are some humorous cases, I suppose, but when I first tried cases, I wasn't a student of the law. I was going on talent. I had a lot of talent, and sometimes that's just not enough. And then when I started writing the law journal articles and became a student of the law, that was when I became a really good trial lawyer. It's the committing yourself. You have to commit yourself to write a book, to act in a movie. You commit yourself to the law, and you become a student of the law. Then you can utilize your natural talent to win cases.
I like that. I'm going to encourage Dos Equis. If you need a new spokesman, this is the most interesting man in the world. Seriously, you need to be your new spokesman. Do you have social media where everyone can follow you?
Well, I'm on Facebook.
That's good. Tell everyone where to find you so they can come follow you.
Okay, as long as they spell my name right. Fraiser. They can find me there. Find me on Amazon. My book's on Amazon.
Perfect.
Or Google me. They'll find me.
Well, given
Jim Fraiser,
Jim
yes.
Fraiser. Well, what catches me about this is half our audience is obsessed with Outlander, so they'll get Fraiser right.
Yeah, I actually had a date with a woman who was really excited to meet me because she knew I was related to that person in real life.
Oh,
yeah, that's my family they're talking about.
Oh, that's spectacular. On behalf of my family, sorry about Culloden.
Yes. Yes, that was a downer.
That was not a good time in history for us.
Right.
So that's incredible. So you're actually related to the Fraiser clan.
Yes, we have the I in the name now, which was put in this country, but it was Fraiser before, and that's the leg of the family that I'm related to, and Castle Fraiser in Ireland, and all of that is great stuff. In fact, Culloden is the one thing in history my father didn't like to discuss.
Yes, it's not a good time. That actually got my family titled and a bunch of stuff because we were awful. Like it was bad. It's bad. No, it's let me tell you. The only way you get titles back in the day was by doing horrible things for the king. It's not.
Yes,
never a good thing. It's never a good thing. So I really appreciate that. We have about 2 minutes left. Is there anything you want to say to the audience? Obviously, go buy his books.
That would be great. They could find my books. They're all on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And I hope they will also support Diane Kronstad and her business. She has a lovely site on Fashions Digest. She's toast of the town in New York. She gets to go to all these great things that I wish I could go to, that I used to do. But please support her because she's been the victim in this case. And I very much please support you guys. You guys are unique. And I hope y'all get a lot of support too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
He punches a lot of people. So most of our audience is young men. So they follow what he thinks a lot.
Actually, that's why I'm very impressed by the things you have to say, because it sounds like a lot of information you either were bestowed upon by your father or mother, and now that you talk about and give to us, be really good for them to hear.
Yes.
Okay.
You should get him do a spot with him on your Bear the Goods.
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be because it's good advice.
If you're interested in doing something similar to this again, where we can take these recorded bits and put them out on social media, I'd like to put you in some additional content, just having you talk about your experience and your perception, especially on the way things are going now with the world and how it may be affecting the young men of today.
Well, thank you very much. That's a kind offer, and I'm going to take you up on it. And working with you two would have to be wonderful.
It's Bear does a lot of content. He thinks he's not an Andrew Tate fan, so he puts out anti-Andrew Tate content, which is essentially no, don't listen to him. Here's how you be a man. Here's how you be a good guy today.
Yeah,
absolutely. And her advice to you about standing tall is good.
Yes. it affects me emotionally, but it is good for me up here and my physical health.
My only concern is if he ever does it in the cage when he does have a fight or something, it's going to be a terrible
standing up here accepting the punishment. Yes, agreed.
It's the worst thing he can do. So.
Well, Mardi Gras in New Orleans is great fun. I did it. I was marching in the Mardi Gras parade dressed as Loki, the god of evil.
Cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they pull this wrestling thing down the street. So I get up in it and I'm trying to be funny, saying, are there any women or children that would like to fight Loki? And I felt a tap on my shoulder and I turned around. It was a 6'5" guy, all muscle, wearing a tutu. So I had to wrestle him.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh. That is perfect.
See, man, we had more topics we could discuss and we just didn't even think to get to it.
I know. We're going to have you on again. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to both of you. It's been a great experience.
And thank you. And I hope you have better experiences. I'm sorry you guys had that terrible experience. Guys, check out his books. He's a very interesting man. And seriously, Dos Equis, if you're looking for a new mascot,
he's right there.
I love
and he's got experience.
I'm just saying. It's perfect. Thank you for joining us. And guys, thank you for joining us on Behind the Scenes. I think we are at the end of the show. He is really interesting. Really, Dos Equis, that is your new mascot.
Yeah, the most interesting man in the world. And he's got experience in front of the camera. So we know he's able to do it. He's got great public speaking. He was worked as a lawyer. Like there's just so many benefits.
The man you need to do.
That's the most interesting man in the world now.
Now, I want to say thank you all for joining us. This is Behind the Scenes. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
This has been Behind the Scenes with the Baroness and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Media.